Hello, JJ Meets World listeners. You've picked a great episode because Tucker and I talk about cereal in our intros, which leads into a long conversation about Jaleel White, a.k.a. Stephen Q. Urkel from the show Family Matters. Maybe you've got some really strict opinions about Jaleel White, but we don't. Also, don't forget Family Matters is a spinoff of Perfect Strangers, and those guys didn't get nearly the money he did for playing a nerd. Also, our big guest today is Matt McGregor. And Matt McGregor is a guy who does so many amazing things. If you've ever seen some of Tucker's film work, odds are he's the man who is behind the camera or helping in some way, shape, or form. He's a dad. He wears booty shorts when you ask him to. And we also talk about about poker TV for really the first time we've had someone else who can talk about poker TV with Tucker as well. So sit back, relax, enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World, and go to patreon.com/JJ Meets World to support this podcast.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is! He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
Why do they make cereals that are only available for a limited time? It drives me crazy, and I'll give you a perfect example. I would love to eat some of those monster cereals that General Mills puts out.
Boo Berry, Count Chocula, Frankenberry.
Yummy Mummy. What's the wolf one?
I don't know. We have to ask Greg Carlson because that's his area of expertise.
So is Noel Scotch Anderson.
Really? We got to get both those guys. We should do a cereal episode and maybe invite Jeff Knight to come in too and talk about his, I don't know.
Listen, if I know anything about podcasts, using just the word cereal, whether you spell it S-E-R-I-A-L or C-E-R-E-A-L, you're going to get some listeners.
That's true.
You're going to get some listeners. It's going to be big.
But you're upset. They don't always offer them year round because of the scarcity, the manufactured scarcity.
Yeah, they're creating their own lack of supply to up the demand so that by the time Labor Day rolls around, you're like, oh, snap, it's about the cereals. And they do that with other cereal-based products. Like there's a Christmas-themed one that I've only had a couple times where they look like little trees. Like it's like a Cheerio, but it looks like a little tree.
Right, or like when Lucky Charms would have special marshmallows.
Yeah. Oh, I remember a Lucky Charm campaign when they were going to debut the new marshmallow, and you got a little chart.
Right.
And then you got stickers that came with the box all the time.
Which is brilliant because those marshmallows are all the same. They're just dyed different colors. So you're not getting a new flavor of marshmallow. You're just getting a different shape.
I have heard an urban legend about the reason that Lucky Charms became Lucky Charms was the guy who owned the circus peanut factory that made circus peanuts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Had an abundance and didn't know what to do with them. And so he sold them off to the cereal company. And they're like, okay, well, we'll take them. And they made circus peanut cereal. And they're like, no one wants fucking circus peanut cereal. This is
no one
disgusting.
wants circus peanuts.
And so they chopped them up into little bits. And then they became...
Interesting.
What we now know as Lucky Charms.
You know what that is not apocryphal? Like that is actually how it happened? I'm asking you if that's what you're...
I thought you had another story to
No,
tell.
no.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I've read it in several places, but who knows? Who knows in the world of marshmallow cereals?
I'm willing to accept it as fact for right now.
Do you have a favorite cereal?
Golden Grams.
Golden Grams.
Golden Grams. And Golden Grams I like to eat at night. Actually, not to start the day, but as like an after dinner dessert. That's how I like to eat Golden Grams.
Do you remember like a short-lived Ghostbusters cereal?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, I mean, if you grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, you saw almost every marketable thing made as a cereal at one point.
Right, yeah.
Urkel had cereal, Ninja Turtles had cereal, everyone.
Urkelos. What? Who did the marketing for Family Matters? Because they were really like, Urkel Rhapsody, Urkel cereal.
Well, they didn't anticipate the zeitgeist, the Urkel zeitgeist.
You know what they didn't sell were like Urkel costumes.
Right.
Which seems like a missed opportunity because just a couple suspenders and low-rise pants,
Right.
boom, you're good to go. Poor Jaleel White.
Oh yeah, I feel so bad for that multimillionaire. I feel really bad for him.
I don't think he does it multi-million. I think that
You think he managed it poorly?
Well, no, I think he was a kid where, like, back in the day, like, you took the job. And,
Right.
Yeah, I bet you he signed a deal where he didn't get residual rights. He was a young kid when he started on that show.
Right, but
and it's not like the Big Bang Theory where they realized, like, oh, this is going to be huge, because at that time, if someone asked for more money, they'd be like, well, we'll just cancel the show.
Anything can be renegotiated when you're a powerful star, though. Like,
Think
once
so?
he became famous, once everyone wanted Urkel, that is bargaining power right there.
You think so, huh?
I think so. If he had a good enough agent.
But I mean, what do you think? Maybe he didn't.
I mean, yeah, we have incomplete information. It's mere speculation. The career ups and downs of Jaleel White.
Google Jaleel White's net worth. Jaleel White is an American actor and producer who has a net worth of $10 million.
Look at that, multimillionaire.
Jaleel White is most widely recognized from his role as Steve Urkel on the 90s hit sitcom Family Matters.
Yeah, we know
I
this
actually
college radio. Thank you.
don't know where else someone would know Jaleel White from.
Dancing with the Stars. Did he ever do that?
I don't think so.
I feel like he was on reality TV at some point, but meh.
I think he's popped up in little things, but he definitely does not want to be Urkel anymore.
No.
And I think that's the thing is once you're associated with a character, sometimes it keeps going and going and going. Like our guest today
Right.
has formulated a character that to many people, they don't want to know the man behind the mower.
No.
But we're going to introduce that today with Matt McGregor. I start
Old
off
man
this
McGregor.
podcast in a very aggressive manner, asking Matt where his name comes from and his heritage. And then we slowly drift into other things, such as Matt's time in Africa, what it's like to be a cameraman, hip-hop, being a father. There's a lot of interesting things that we touch on here. And I think that his statement about what it's like to be a dad is one of the sweetest things I've ever heard about being a parent.
Matt's a longtime friend and collaborator of both of us. And has done a lot of cinematography work for films that we've worked on.
And he goes by the name MC Gregor, which I think is a really cool nickname. Like, that is the way you put a nickname together, MC Gregor. So I want you to listen to this episode, and the thing I want you to take away from it, if I can instruct you to do just that, is to think about somebody who has all of these skills and knowledge who just happens to be possibly your next door neighbor. And remember that everybody's got this unique story, and I'm encouraging people to go out there and have their own JJ Meets World experience and talk to people around them, because I learned things about Matt that even though I've known him for more than a decade, I am finding out for the first time ever in this conversation. And if we do that, the world might be just a little bit of a better place. And you might have somebody who you can borrow a snowblower from. Speaking of which, if you're Tucker's neighbors, he could really use a snowblow.
Yeah, the sun's coming out. It'll melt pretty soon.
It is only January. So sit back and relax. Enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World with our guest, Matt McGregor. And by the way, head over to patreon.com, patreon.com/JJ Meets World and donate to this podcast if you enjoy it. If you've listened to more than 10 episodes that we put out there for free, come on. I mean, if this were old timey and we were on a date, this is the 10th date and we're not going to get a smooch. Come on now. Come on.
JJ Meets World.
McGregor, what kind of a last name is that?
It's Scottish, I'm
Yeah.
told. But I'm mostly German.
Oh, mostly German, huh? With a little bit of Scot in you.
Just with a little bit of Scotch.
Do you ever threaten rabbits?
No, but I actually watched Peter Rabbit this morning.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I don't know. I was sleeping through most of it. I basically did it to entertain my kid.
Yeah. I've heard not so great things about it from adults, but the kids just love it.
Well, there's rabbits. There's rabbits all over the place. It doesn't matter what the plot is.
Now
There's rabbits.
now show him Watership Down right after that.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. That is, the suggested thing after
There's
Peter
a new
Rabbit.
one. There's a new one
Yeah,
now.
Netflix.
That Netflix did, I
Yeah,
think. But I
yeah.
haven't watched it yet.
It's like a mini series or something.
Okay. What age would he have to reach for him to qualify as Old Man McGregor?
Well, I don't think that they say that he's Old Man McGregor. They just call him Mr. McGregor.
But Old Man McGregor is sort of like the
Oh,
the
sure.
the,
The
societal It's like the Kleenex, right? It's like what everyone calls it.
So I think probably I think you need any age if you're widowed.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So, and then probably I'm going to say 63.
You don't think like beard length or anything like that has anything to do with the qualifications for being old man?
It might, but we're talking about a shave of maybe like 2 or 3 years tops.
I mean, at what point do you think you become describable as ornery? Like you're not an ornery person. I've seen you get ornery, but the circumstances always demanded it.
I'm guessing it's going to happen within the next decade. I can't pinpoint.
Before your son graduates high school,
probably
basically.
Around puberty.
Yeah,
is my
that
guess.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. Yeah, having a kid who has puberty definitely makes you old man McGregor.
I think it does it.
It'll
I think so.
probably coincide with him not thinking I'm cool anymore because that'll piss me off.
Right.
I'll be so angry that I'm not cool anymore that I'll get ornery about it.
Right.
Can we talk about that moment when you have a child where you realize that you've lost touch with things that are popular today? So I work with kids at Fargo North High, and I am so lost when it comes to things that are hip and cool these days. And whenever I have a reference for something, I actually get excited. When they were talking about Bird Box the other day, and I'm like, I've seen Bird Box too.
You're like
Have you guys seen
Captain America and the first Avengers.
That's how I feel.
I understood that reference.
Yep, when he's like writing things down the next time you see him, where there's like Star Wars. Do you think that there's going to be a moment where that happens, and all of a sudden you realize your child is more in touch with the zeitgeist than you are?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen. I mean, it's already happened in pop culture and other, things that I'm interested in, like hip hop. There are a lot of things that I'm not in touch with anymore at all, just because
You don't have the time to follow up on it.
you don't have the time, and you get stuck in your roots. What do they say? You love the music you love when you're 19 because it's what you came up with and what grew up with you, I guess.
Right.
So what was the music when you were 19?
Well, 19, I guess
Or I guess you don't have to use the exact date, but what was the music you came up with?
Right. So around 19, that was the transition period, I guess. Before 19, I was into I was into whatever my parents listened to in the car, which happened to be like the 20 tapes that they owned, which were Garth Brooks and Tom Petty and
I was going to say Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
Everyone
So-
has that album where he's wearing the black and white checkered shirt.
that one. Is that the blue and black one or the red and
Yeah,
black one?
that's
Because
the-
those are the two I remember: blue and black and red and black.
Yeah, my mom just rocked the soundtrack to The Bodyguard. That's pretty much what we had.
Yeah. So, but when I ventured out into my own, it was I was introduced to hip hop from my cousin, and it was Tupac, Me Against the World. That was the first thing that was like not my parents that I really got into. And then another album by a hip hop artist called Ahmad that is not as well known, but very instrumental in my musical tastes. Then when we get to 19, the transition period, most of my friends were into like metal. They were into Sepultura and Metallica and stuff that I wasn't really interested in, but
Previous
like,
podcast
everybody
guest
was.
Tony Magnol.
Yeah.
All metal episode.
So I kind of took their interests and my interests and melded them together into what was popular at the time, the rap rock. So Limp Bizkit and Korn and that type of stuff. That was my 19-year-old stuff, which I still have a soft spot in my heart for, but I have after that I got into hip hop way more.
Okay. Tell me what's on your phone right now. Like what are you listening to right now?
Well, I mean mostly podcasts right now, but like I guess
Good answer, but let's talk about music.
Just downloaded what was it? Here, let me look.
Matt pulls out his phone and uses his right hand to swipe with his thumb.
I just downloaded Anderson .Paak's Oxnard because I'm told it's the best hip hop of the year. I haven't had the time to listen to it. I did just listen to Logic's new album, which has this amazing track with like all of the members of the Wu-Tang Clan. So that's the new stuff I've been getting into. But like, the oldies, Eminem, I will always go back to. I've actually gotten into Flo Rida quite a lot.
Listen, I like Flo Rida.
I really do.
I
He's
wanted
so much
to
fun.
take advantage of it when he had his phone number public for a little bit, and he was encouraging fans to call him. This was years ago. I wasn't a fan, but I was like, I kind of want to call this guy. But I think there was like a 20% access rate from people which is actually pretty high if you think about it. I don't know what I would have asked him though.
Been like, what's up?
Right. So, I actually have a question about rap music and that dovetails with the fact that you're a relatively new father. How long have you been a daddy now?
Beckett is 2 years old. He turned 2 in October.
So the question then is, how much of the music that you like to listen to do you make sure he is not exposed to because of like curse words and stuff that a lot of parents get upset about? I know that my parents never would have played Biggie or anything around me when I was a kid. So how are you planning on navigating those waters?
Well, I guess once I get to that river, I will figure that out. At this point, I don't censor anything, I guess, myself included, which I think we're getting to the point where like he has started repeating the words, the swear words, shit.
When your wife is like a child psychologist, isn't she? Or
she's a family child and family therapist.
Right.
So, yeah, I definitely need to start that. Like, it's getting to the point where he will be repeating these things at daycare, and it might become a problem. So, I guess I'll have to censor that, and we will. I don't think I'll censor it a lot. I still feel like I'm probably not going to introduce him to the more violent songs that Eminem would do, but maybe some of the earlier ones where
like a little Rapper's Delight, maybe
the pop
fun one.
poppy ones, yeah.
Real Slim Shady, I think is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, not Rapper's Delight, not Sugar Hill Gang.
Do the
have you
Fat
guys ever
Boys
heard
have
the
any
story
songs?
behind the Sugar Hill Gang and like how they became like a group?
No, but I've now discovered how it is you come up with the naming convention of naming things the something gang.
Well, but that's what they are.
No, I know.
Oh, yeah.
But earlier today,
Yeah, that's true.
you and I were talking, and he just came up with like the Carrot Gang or the Hot Dog Gang. That's what it was.
So the Sugar Hill Gang, this is at a time when like kind of like that rap and that hip hop sound didn't exist, like except for in little underground clubs. It was just starting to become a thing. And so this woman who was a pretty, famous record producer at the time and had some hits herself, heard these guys freestyling in a basement somewhere, and she was like, oh my God, we got to capture this. And so she went and she met with this club manager who was the one who was organizing all of these hip-hop artists. And she's like, I want to make a record. And he's like, that's the whole point of this movement, is not selling out to corporate thugs like you. And she's like, well, shit. So she finds her nephew, and her nephew's got a connection to a guy named Pizza Mike. And Pizza Mike is one of these hip hop, like he's tossing dough, and he's really good with his words and his rhymes and stuff like that. And so she grabs Pizza Mike and she's like, I want to make a record. Do you, and know anybody else? And he's like, sure, I got some other friends. We'll make a record. So Rapper's Delight is a super long song. I want to say it's like 8 minutes long, I think. And because no one believed in this record, they only had one take available. And so the Sugar Hill Gang Rapper's Delight that we have come to love was done in a single take with audio engineers who had never worked with a music style in this way, and then became just massively huge. I also think those guys got dicked out of almost all the royalties to it.
Probably.
But and so everyone, to my understanding, like who was in the world of hip hop at the time, heard this thing and they were like, "Oh my God, this is garbage. This is the Chuck E. Cheese of what we're trying to do here." But it ushered in like popularity, like radio stations liked it, so they could play it, and that led to the furthering. So
Pizza Mike sounds like the name of the host of a children's show.
Yeah,
Choo Choo Bob. Pizza Mike.
Yeah.
Matt, what was it like in Africa?
It was hot.
Tell us why you went to
dusty.
Africa.
Add some context to that one.
I went and shot a documentary with Deb Dawson and her crew for African Soul American Heart when it was just getting started. And so we went over there with minimal equipment. There were 3 of us that went, and we were going to go interview people in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya, and then go to South Sudan to interview people in the village of one of the Lost Boys who lived in Fargo at the time and was trying to, build something. So he wrote the book that sparked all of this this movement. So we went over there. We shot a documentary. We were over there for a couple weeks, right around Christmas. Like, man, that was a decade ago.
A long time ago. You were still shooting everything on tape, right?
Yeah, we were shooting everything on mini DV. Yep, HD.
And we should also add that Deb Dawson is JJ Gordon's aunt.
Yeah. Who we have not yet had as a guest on this show.
We haven't.
We'll have to rectify that.
She came to Santaland 3 times, though, so.
Yeah, she did. She and Brent Brandt, I think, are tied for most views of that. Brent Brandt. So what's Africa like? Because in my mind, I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Air Up There with Kevin Bacon. But that's kind of what I think of.
Okay, what was the plot? Refresh me.
The Air Up There is Kevin Bacon is a disgraced basketball agent, or sports agent, and he goes to Africa to find the next great NBA star.
Okay.
And he does, but he has to become part of the tribe to be included. Right. And then it culminates, if I remember correctly, that they have to, there's a warlord who doesn't want this guy to leave to go to America. And so they have to have a basketball game between the warlord's team. Pretty much the idea of Space Jam 5 years before Space Jam was a thing.
But with Kevin Bacon. And to become part of the tribe, they have to slit open your stomach. And so he's a former player, so that he's playing in the end game. They're like, you're not part of the tribe. And he shows his big scar.
That was not the movie I was thinking of. The movie I was thinking of, I think it was Reese Witherspoon, and she had to cross a desert with local tribesmen after some kind of battle with local militia.
Yeah, so, Good Gone Life or something like that.
Something like that.
What about... Never mind.
Cool Runnings was set in Jamaica.
Yes.
I was going to say White Men Can't Jump, but I'm getting my basketball movies confused.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes set in America.
Yep.
Rosie Perez as well.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
So what is Africa like what we see in the movies?
So, I mean, it's a huge continent, so obviously portions of it are. I was not in anything that would be considered a lush jungle, I guess. We were in the desert. But in Nairobi, it's interesting how village life and big city life mix in Africa, I guess, was the thing that I noticed the most is when you're in a huge city, you're still seeing goats walking around the street in their downtown area, and then when you're in a little village with mud huts, we walked by these kids listening to a radio and 50 Cent was playing. So it's the mixture of urban and extremely rural was really striking to me.
Any baboons holding up baby lions?
No. I didn't see any cliffs like that or anything, no. There wasn't a ton of wildlife besides goats and cows that I saw. I think there were some giraffes off in the distance at one point, but I mean, it was besides being in the big cities, it was just desolate and dusty, and I mean, there were trees, but they weren't green or anything.
When right away you injured yourself too.
I did on the first day, yeah. Well, not on the very first day of being in Africa. The first couple days we were in Nairobi, the bigger city. But as soon as we got to Kakuma refugee camp, which is enormous and just crazy, I was shooting and I was following Deb because, Deb and Joseph. Joseph is the lost boy that we followed. So I'm walking backwards because I want to make sure I have them in the shot, and that's what you do as a camera guy. I'm not sure if you knew that.
That's interesting.
As I'm walking backwards, I step into a little, like hole, and my ankle twists, and I hear a pop, and I feel like, oh crap, I just screwed this whole thing up, and now I have a broken foot. And what did I do to derail this project that we spent a lot of time and money and effort and in coming over here to do, and I screwed it up. So yeah, I broke my foot, but it was pretty minor. I found out later. It's just like the tendon that attaches to the side of your foot pops off, which I did to myself in college as well on my other foot. But you don't know that when you're in the middle of a refugee camp and away from every doctor that you might be able to trust, which we did end up going to a doctor on the refugee camp, and he gave me some ointment for it. Just rub this on there, it'll be fine. Which I think was just Vaseline as I look back on it. But I got an ace bandage, which helped, keep it tight, which I just limped on it for the rest of the time.
That's fun.
For a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for a couple of weeks.
Ugh. No, thank you.
And then you ended up with a nice little documentary at the end of it.
Yep.
And a world-class experience.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. Very humbling. And yeah, we made the documentary that sparked a huge fundraising campaign that Deb is still, undergoing today. I haven't been a part of the project since that very first documentary, but I've been following it, and she's doing some great work.
So I remember sitting with you in the Cass County Public Health Building on November 1st as we were hearing about, okay, well, you're getting ready for a trip to Africa. Here are the drugs that you need to take. And do you remember the conversation about the malaria medication?
Yeah, there were nightmares involved.
Yeah, you could do one of two things. Number one is you could take these pills that you would take 30 days before, 30 days or while you're there, and then 30 days after. Or you could get this shot, but the shot is going to make you ill for like 6 days, and you're going to get sick, and it's almost like a mini version of malaria. And it was like, well, I don't want to get sick for 6 days. That sounds awful. Plus, I was super hungover from a Halloween party at Tucker's house. So in my mind, I was like, why wouldn't you do the pills? And I go, just so you know, the pills give you horrific nightmares. What did you end up going for?
I feel like I did the shot because I feel like pills aren't for me, but I do not remember actually.
Because I remember somebody started on the pills and then maybe a week later said, nope, I'm switching over to the shot because the dreams are like sawing off like my loved ones' heads.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they are super realistic, super horrific. In fact, I can't remember who it was, but they said they woke up crying 3 nights in a row, like just having these horrific dreams. And all of that is supposed to be better than malaria. So I don't know. I've never had malaria, so I couldn't tell you.
I don't remember, but I do remember having a dream, and I had it while we were sleeping in the refugee camp. So I'm assuming maybe I was on the pills if I kept having the dreams, but I had a dream about this like mechanical dragonfly who was after me, and he ended up attaching his proboscis? Yeah, the end tail thing into me and like burrowing itself into my skin, and that was pretty intense.
Damn. Oh, mm-hmm. Sounds like a Guillermo del Toro movie right there.
Yeah, I should have made it.
Yeah. So you've been the cameraman extraordinaire on a couple of different things that I've had the real honor of being a part of, some 48-hour film project things. What's it like being the man behind the camera?
I've always liked it. I don't know what it is about it. I just enjoy trying to capture, a vision through the lens. I think the most fun that I had was the 48-hour project that we did that was all one take, where we're
that was
running around the basement.
Delivered.
It's just the challenge, especially the 48-hour, the challenge of getting it done in that amount of time.
Yeah, when we had our old 48-hour team that Greg Carlson and I would put together, every time we do it, we'd go, what's a new way we can challenge ourselves, or what's a way we haven't done something before? And then we hit upon the idea of doing a one continuous take, so that basically instead of having a bunch of post-production, you have a bunch of pre-production. And this was still on mini DV tape. You know, we didn't have fancy equipment or anything. And so basically Matt wore a backpack that we duct taped like a DVD player to, like one of those travel DVD players that has a monitor on it, and then connected that to his camera so I could see what he was seeing. And then we basically just for like a day and a half just continued to reblock and over again with these actors. And then we probably did 4 or 5 different takes of it. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But it was fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
I loved it.
I don't know if either of you have seen this, but a lot of phlegm in my. Let's all just.
Oh, me too.
There's Woody Harrelson made a movie that took place in real time recently, and it was being live streamed as they were filming it. And it was like, was it
24?
No, because it wasn't 24 hours. It wasn't like the Kiefer Sutherland thing. It was based on a true story about one night he had in London. And the movie is just insane to think that they're doing this all, and it's all over London. So there's scenes that take place in taxi cabs, but if the taxi cab hit any kind of traffic, they're going to be screwed. So they had to make this thing at like 2:30 in the morning when there'd be the lightest amount of people out there. It is nuts to watch it. And there's only one part that didn't go as planned, and it's this she's supposed to be on the phone, like on an actual phone, and a guard in this jail is supposed to say something to him, but the guard just kept walking by and forgot a line. And so Woody just is like, come on, let's go. And like talking into the receiver about like, come on, because it's just ringing and ringing and ringing. And so finally this guy remembers his line and comes back. And Woody Harrelson talks about like, it's the longest 15 seconds of my entire life.
There's a movie called Russian Ark that is just gorgeous, and that's one. If you look it up, it's a movie in one continuous take. They shot it in like the National Russian Museum. I forget what it's called, and the whole premise is that you're basically following this sort of. I guess he's kind of a time traveler or a traveler out of time, maybe, who is moving through the museum and sort of reliving Russian history, and. The way that they had a finite amount of time that the National Museum would let them do it.
Yeah, the museum, right? Yeah, I actually just listened to a podcast on this that was pretty funny because the podcast wasn't about like the movie necessarily, but it was about this one guy who screwed up the shot in the orchestra scene. Like he looked straight into the camera.
Yeah, so that they had to do is they said, you know, for the first like 30 minutes, if we make a mistake, that's when we can correct it. But we only have so many times we can do that before we have to just go with it. And they used up every retake they could. So the take that they ended up using, which was the last take that they did, was the last take that they could do, which I thought was really interesting. And but the effect of it though is unbelievable. It's like you're in a dream. And my favorite part of the movie is towards the end, where I think either an opera or a play or something has happened, and everyone who is there in attendance, who are all like the aristocracy of Russia at the turn of the 20th century or before, they're all just leaving, right? And so the camera's just going through this massive crowd of people who are leaving at the end of a show. And you get the feeling that you are there at that time period, seeing what it must have been like for a large crowd of people to go home after a show in Russia. It's awesome. And if you get a chance to watch it, you should watch it. Of the continuous take things that are out there, that would be towards the top.
What's the weirdest thing that you've ever had to shoot, where you thought, well, this is the culmination, or like a position that you've had to get in for it? Like I think of in Citizen Kane, he wants that shot where from the ground up, where it just makes Kane look enormous. And they're like, well, we can't get the camera any lower unless we were to open up the floor. And then at like 3:00 in the morning, he takes an axe and breaks out the floor and then has it jackhammered down so he can lower the camera in there because he was nuts. Have you ever done that?
No, I have not done that.
Matt's had to like film like significant others hardcore making out with people. Like he's had to record things that would be just emotionally difficult. challenging, but he's a trooper.
Yeah, but that was with Rezel, and it just like didn't bother me as much as.
Yeah, Matt was dating Rezel at the time. and
Frequent guest Mike Rezel.
Right. Well, you've been in a pool.
Yeah, so I guess the things that I would be thinking of are just like the extremes. Like the pool is not an extreme. I would guess I was in a pool. Africa was pretty extreme, but you get used to it. You get used to the warmth. But like being outside in the cold or in a lake in September when it's freezing.
I'm trying to think of like what poker situations that you may have been in. Well, yeah, I guess I can't really think of anything that would be like a crazy setup.
Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Since you're both here, one thing that I would find just so tedious that I'd want to tear my own teeth out when producing poker television, there's the thing where they show the cards to the little cam. At one point, doesn't that just become monotonous and just like, oh my God, I just don't care anymore? Because you don't show every single hand, do you?
No, not
but
even
you
close.
have to watch and record every single hand.
Yeah, but the watching and recording every single hand isn't. It's not that monotonous for most people, because there's a crew of people on headsets and you're all having fun. It's the people having to watch those hands that like there's one guy taking notes on the hands, making sure that we have all the information on the bets. Yeah, it probably gets tedious for him, but he's also really into poker.
He's a special kind of guy to like be into that. Though.
Yeah. So poker players love ingesting poker. They don't care how monotonous it gets. They don't want to watch the edited show. They want to watch the entire live stream of every hand and know all the information. They are, masochists in that way, I guess.
If you like something enough, like a game, you'll watch people do that thing. You just will. Like if something has people who like to play it,
that's why
it
Twitch
has people
exists.
who like to watch it.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
that's
so
just
let
what
me
it
ask
is.
this. Do you both love poker so much that you want to watch the whole unedited thing?
No, absolutely not.
No.
So that's my point here is that like...
It's not for us though, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. So like it'd be like, for example, I am not a fan of mustard. So at no point am I ever going to open a mustard store where I have to be knowledgeable about mustard and tell people about mustard and organize mustard tastings. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not poker that keeps me going with that. It's like there's a lot of fun shit that happens on the table. Like the people at the table are having a ton of fun. And like I said, when we're doing this, there's a group of people that I really enjoy being with that we're having fun with outside of the poker.
Are there any rules as to what people are not allowed to wear at a poker table? Like, for example, I noticed like hats and sunglasses are very popular, but like what if I showed up like with a really big wig?
Nah, we'll do it.
Yeah?
It's logos basically would be the only thing. Logos and vulgarity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does anyone swear like it's the 1920s? Like, raspberries.
Not like the 1920s.
You know?
Yeah.
They're pretty modern with their swearing.
Fudge!
That really
Fork
can
toots
spoon
my
raspberries.
I had some friends who were Mormon growing up, and they would say frump instead of the F word. And I used to argue with them that frump, like, you're using it's. Who cares what the word is?
The intention is there.
You're using the same intention with it. So I don't think that you should even be allowed to say frump.
You shouldn't be able to express anger using a word that begins with F.
No frump, no fudge, no sheesh.
No, that. Or cheese and rice instead of Jesus Christ.
I say
Like-
cheese and crackers.
Cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
Cheese and
Oh,
crackers.
jeez. My dad goes, Cheesel.
Yeah, which is so weird.
Oh, Cheesel.
I was like, do you mean like the actor? Like, are you trying to say his name? So I know one movie that you did with Tucker where you were in front of the camera is First Mow, which is probably one of my favorite things that you've ever made, Tucker.
It's my favorite thing that I've made.
Give us the details of First Mow.
First Mow is a movie about me in short pants mowing my lawn, I guess, and loving mowing my lawn.
That was in 2010 when I did the movie a month challenge. And this is literally how this happened. So it's April. So I'm now on my 4th month. April's almost done. I haven't shot anything. I'm at Heartland Poker Tour working, and I'm talking to Matt. And Matt jokingly goes, well, I'm planning on mowing my lawn later today. Do you want to come and film me? And I said, I do. And then as soon as he said that, I wrote like an outline, just like a guide for like a documentary about a guy who mows the lawn. And then we just shot it like that afternoon. And Matt happened to have short shorts. And he's like,
I don't even remember why I had those short shorts.
Yeah, but you're like, should I wear these? And I said,
Yeah.
yeah, you should. And then you wore your Fabio shirt that had, it's like the image of Fabio getting hit in the face by the bird. He's got the bloody nose from the bird strike.
From the roller coaster.
Yeah. And then, we ended up just like shooting it. And we just shot it documentary style. And I just interviewed Matt and he just improvised everything that he said.
It's great because it's about a guy who's obsessed with mowing his lawn, and this is the first time he's able to mow it after waiting a whole winter. And so there's such a what I like about it is I know that guy. I know 100 of those guys who that's their release, and they're the master of their domain, and their domain just happens to be an eighth of an acre of grass.
And we named him after our coworker Mark Schlater, and that's not so. Our Mark Schlater, played by Matt, has a lot of faults that you find that he's not necessarily aware of, like the fact that he lives with his girlfriend, but the way they divvy up the household duties is completely unfair. She takes care of everything, including changing the light bulbs, making sure the TV's been turned off, and other things like that. And he takes care of mowing the lawn. Mm-hmm. And he sees this as an equitable distribution, and a lot of the humor comes from that.
When I was a kid, we had a lake place on Lake 7, which is right by Lake 5 and 6. I don't know if there was a Lake 8. So to get there, it's right between Vergas and Frazee, Minnesota. And there, I used to tell people, you take a left at this pink house that has a perfect lawn. And so we called it the Perfect Lawn Guy. And I think this guy was a plumber somewhere in the lakes area. But his lawn was his favorite thing. And it was the most brilliant shade of green you've ever seen. He'd go out there when he'd get weeds, and he would clip the weeds with a small scissor and then take a Q-tip and daub that into Roundup and then paint the leaves and then paint where, the open part of the stem was. And then the next day go out and remove it. So once it knows it's been killed down to the roots, he'd remove it. I mean, this guy loved and babied his lawn and was out there. He mowed it 4 or 5 times a week and always in different directions so that the blades were always getting a different, cut side. It was the perfect lawn.
I think that's what Mark Schlater in the movie thinks he's doing.
Right. Yeah, but
failing at it.
But he feels that he is one with his Briggs and Stratton Rally 20-inch. Mm-hmm. I mean, he feels like the two become one, and that he can feel the divots in the grass.
Yeah, it's not just becoming one with the mower; it's becoming one with the lawn,
right?
And the turf underneath it.
We've brought the Mark Schlater character back a couple times. Like we did one called First Snow, which was another movie a month thing, which was really like a small part of a longer story. We shot some footage
was
for
it
one
rocket ship.
No, it was for it was the Neo Sapien. So Neo Sapien
right.
Part 1. And we also shot some footage for we thought might be called First Fall, but we never really just you raking leaves basically. I still have that footage. But now I kind of want to revisit the character and do Last Mow. So it's the last mow he's going to get in for the summer, and he's dealing with the depression that's about to set in, and his life has changed. His girlfriend finally left him, and he's living in a different place, but he's still the same. And even in First Snow, we show that he wants to mow the lawn even in the middle of winter. So he's scooped out a part of the lawn, and then he's trying to mow it in the middle of the night. And so his girlfriend entices him back inside with pork chops.
Pork chops, yep. Favorite meal.
Shout out to Tierney Michon, too, for some of the most brilliantly improvised lines in that movie.
About pork chops?
Not just pork chops, but also I didn't say, hey, Tierney, here's your motivation. Here's what's going on. I just started asking her questions, and she got it immediately. And then she was drinking out of an oversized cup of coffee and was brilliantly conveying the life of quiet desperation her character was leading while living with Mark Schlater.
Do you have your movie a month stuff available? Can people still find that and watch it?
All of my stuff I think is currently offline right now. I haven't just because my website Moonbase Maria I have not had up for a long time. So I need to get back on doing that. But I will definitely link First
because
Mo.
you could get some really great views out of this
right
across the board.
I think now I'm getting to the point where a lot of those I'm going to make them secret movies that you have to know me to get access to them, because a lot of them are pretty embarrassing and bad. But First Mo is one that I would continue to send out to film festivals even today. I like it so much.
Now, here's something I'm curious, Matt. You seem to be a pretty organized guy. Like, if you're going to do something, it's going to get finished. But that's not what Tucker does. Tucker will shoot stuff and then hold on to it for 5 or 6 years. And then finally, one day I'll get a text message being like, hey, I finished Little Donkey
Yeah,
today.
That's nothing like you at all, right, Matt?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I haven't shot something back in 2003 that's not finished at all.
Oh, you
Feature-length
have?
movie or anything? No, that's not me.
Yeah. So tell me about some of these projects. The unfinished works.
Oh, boy, man.
You're talking about buddy movie, right?
I'm talking about buddy movie, yeah.
Not the whale movie.
Right out of college, I had the bright idea to make a movie with my friends. Aaron Baker and Tony Magnol and Jeremiah Provorst were the major proponents of this. And I was assuming I was going to be the next Kevin Smith. Like, this was going to be the thing that, propels my post-college career into stardom. And so we wrote this feature-length movie called Buddy Movie that we were going to shoot in our hometown, and we had
Jamestown.
We had 2 weeks to go do it. We went and shot for 2 weeks straight. We laughed, we cried, we fought, and we thought we had something really good. And then we get back, and motivation kind of lacked. I mean, I got all the footage organized, so I am organized in that way. Mm-hmm. But then when it actually came down to editing it, that kind of really stopped immediately. And I've revisited it over the years, and so yeah, that was 2003 about that we shot it. And what is it? 15 years later,
yeah,
it might be halfway edited.
Yeah,
I always think that I'm going to go back to it.
In all fairness, JJ, I have one uncompleted project on my plate right now. He has two. Let's just put it that way. I have one. He has two. Although the whale project is really on Greg's plate, so really I should say Greg has one. You have one.
Yeah.
I have one.
Did Flight of the Ticklebee ever get finished?
Greg has two. Greg has two.
Oh man, that's a good one too.
So they did make an edit of it, but it's not like the completed finished one, I think. And we'll find out if we'll talk about that when the mics are off for a couple of reasons.
That's good
for sure.
So one thing that I think is something that I always respect from people is that I have a lot of friends who say, this is a great idea. Wouldn't it be fun if we do this? And they riff on it, and it's a brilliant idea, but I know it's never going to go anyplace.
Like all of our friends that have come up to us saying, here's a great idea for a podcast.
Yep.
You guys should do it. No, you should do it.
Yeah. Why don't you? Trust me, we're putting out 2 episodes a week. It is tedious to do that. But I have a lot of respect for the people who go out there and make it. And that's one thing that your group of friends, I guess collaborators, have put together is you guys have a nice stack of things that you've done and you've created. And so even though Buddy Movie isn't fully edited and finished, you still went out there and shot it. You wrote it. You took the time to make something. And who knows, maybe at some point someone will have community service and they'll be assigned to edit this movie, and you will be the next Kevin Smith. Only don't make that Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan buddy cop movie, because that thing was just garbage.
Or make it, but do it right this time.
Get it right.
As far as Buddy Movie goes, have you shot the whole thing, or are there still scenes that need to be filmed?
I remember when we shot it, we knew that there were some pickups that we wanted that, just cutaways of a punch clock being punched. We didn't have access to a punch clock at the time, so something like that. But I just feel like at this point, it's in the can. There's a movie in there. If I'm going to edit it, we're not going back to shoot anything. It's ready to go, and I mean it's on a hard drive. I could sit down and edit it whenever I want.
I do have a really nice Panasonic mini DV camcorder. So if you need to shoot any more mini DV footage, and I've got a bunch of unused tapes.
I have the camera still that we shot.
Oh, nice.
See, and I was going to ask, because wouldn't that be difficult to try and match up part of that? You couldn't just use any camera.
Older Matt.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, we could pull a Wet Hot American Summer and bring in, our older characters and mix it in seamlessly.
or the Indiana Jones fan film you were talking about.
Yeah, Raiders. where they finally like get the money to make it, but now they're all in their mid-40s. Matt, what do you think it's like being a father? You got a 2-year-old now.
I got a 2-year-old. Yeah,
You're just plopping them in front of the TV so that they can watch Peter Rabbit while you snooze a little bit.
just in the morning. Yeah.
Just in the morning.
Yeah. No, fatherhood is fun and fatherhood is frustrating. It takes an hour and a half to 2 hours to get the kid to sleep every night. So it's me pulling my hair out. But, at the same time, as soon as he finally puts himself down, like there's nothing better than seeing that cute little innocent face, like just being, himself. And, obviously kids have their funny moments. Just last week we went out to have sushi and we sit down and the first thing he does is he pours the soy sauce into his little snack cup, and we didn't notice it happening because we're organizing ourselves and we're getting ready to, we're looking at the menu, and the table next to us all of a sudden says something like soy sauce, and I look over and there's like an inch of soy sauce in his little cup, and the soy sauce is running all over the table and onto the floor. And that happened in like 30 seconds that I just happened to not be looking at him. And then, later on in the meal, we thought he didn't like broccoli, so we picked one of the pieces of broccoli up off his plate, the tempura broccoli, and my wife says, "Mama, eat it," and he's like, "No, Beckett, eat it." It's like, the whole restaurant hears it, and it's a little bright spot, in the middle of a regular meal. So, I mean, it's super fun. You get to see the world a different way. We go sledding, we go swimming, and it's all more fun than it's ever been. So, yeah, it's awesome, but it's also frustrating.
Yeah. Will you be able to convey that frustration to Beckett when he's 25 years old?
Like,
he's
give it back?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Be like, Beckett, guess what? You're going to come with me to the hardware store for the next 25 hours. Just over and over and over again. In fact, we're going to go to 3 hardware stores just today.
Does he like you or your wife more? Who does he like better?
Me.
No.
Yes. I'm guessing Katie doesn't listen to podcasts.
She might listen to this episode.
No, he doesn't love me better. He just the one thing is when we're reading books, like he's gotten used to me reading books and like putting him to sleep. So that's the thing, like right there. But he'll yell for mama and daddy all the same.
What kind of books are you reading?
Llama Llama Red Pajama is one of his favorites. Pirates in Pajamas.
A lot of PJ based books, huh?
PJ based books.
Do you do the silly voices?
Yes, but not when he's going to sleep because you have to calm him down.
Oh, that's a good point.
I would like to write a book about diabetes for children where the pancreas is talking to his good buddy, the liver, and he's so tired. And he's like, I just don't think I can make any more insulin. And it's to teach children about diabetes, but at the same time, I'm going to also illustrate it, and I don't know how to draw. So I'm going to figure out what the shape of a pancreas is and just kind of maybe get it right. But then at the end, all the organs go and have a picnic together, but it's still inside of a body. So like there's like a picnic blanket with fried chicken on it, but it's clearly surrounded by blood.
They might get confused.
About what?
About how the inside of your body works.
What do you mean? There's picnics going on inside my body all the time.
I take that back. You're right. It's a perfect idea for kids.
That's why I put chicken in my mouth, full pieces, and I swallow it so that they can have fun.
One of the things that cartoons have always disappointed me in is that drumsticks look so much more delicious in a cartoon.
Yeah.
Because it just comes clean off the bone, and it's just nothing but pure meat.
Also, the way they eat corn in cartoons with that like typewriter, and then like none of it gets stuck in their teeth.
Or where they build up a Dagwood sandwich and then eat it all in one bite. Oh, it looks so good.
What's the fictional thing you'd love to eat, Matt McGregor? Like, have you ever want to try a can of Slurm from Futurama, or maybe a Krusty Burger from The Simpsons? I don't know. I'm doing only Matt Groening foods.
I guess I'd like to be able to crush a can of spinach and eat it all in one gulp after it flies through the air.
And he makes that look delicious, too.
Yeah, he does.
He makes it look like a delicious meal.
I've always wondered, were the Fleischmans involved with, like, like, did their dad own a canned spinach factory? And he's like, I'm losing it, boys. I'm losing it all. And they're like, well, let's make a little animated character who loves spinach. And then it just gets away from them at one point.
Is it
where
like
they're like
cream spinach or something? It's like a processed spinach, right? It's not just the leaves.
Yeah. So canned spinach on its own is like processed, so it's wet. It's like been cooked already. And so it looks like cream spinach of it, but it keeps a gelatinous form, so that's why it's able to go up and then arc into Popeye's
or like
mouth.
sometimes he'll suck it in through the pipe if he needs to. Like he's the very last instance of it.
It must have been fun to work in that studio where somebody was just like, all right, so today we got to come up with a way for Popeye to eat the spinach. How is that going to happen? And then what's going to indicate that his muscles are growing? Is it going to be a tattoo? Is it going to be an atomic blast sound? What is going to make Popeye go full postal on Bluto in this? Also, they were really into olive oil, and like, there's nothing to that lady. And she's always getting herself into jams and situations. No wonder Shelley Duvall did such a good job playing her in the Robert Altman Popeye movie.
I love that movie.
Me too. The movie, people crap on that movie all the time, but I think it's almost a perfect like cartoon movie. It's exactly what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Bob Moffat or David Moffat? I can't remember. He plays the tax collector in that movie, and then he's a character actor. He's been in a ton of other things. He just recently passed away, and I felt bad because I was like, I thought he died like 10 years ago. I feel bad. You ever have that happen to you guys with celebrities where you're like, they're still alive?
Yeah. I feel like, is John Madden still alive?
I don't know.
I just had that the other day. Like, I saw one of those clickbaity ads of like, guess what John Madden's net worth is? And I thought, does he have a net worth if he's still alive? If he's not alive? I can't tell. They're still making Madden video games, but I don't know if that would ever stop.
Yes.
He's just not doing any sports announcing?
He's just Scrooge McDucking it. He's just sitting on a large pile of gold coins.
I would hate it if John Madden had a fate where he's like been suffering from dementia for years, and he's just kind of been, kept safe and warm, and no one knows this, and his legions of fans. Because every year I think about making a turducken because of his love of the turducken. Oh, the way he'd take you on a tour of that meat. Oh, it was amazing. That Thanksgiving in the NFL. You're into fantasy football too, aren't you?
I just got into fantasy football, yep.
How's it going so far?
Well, it's over, so it's kind of like that last Mo. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do until next year.
Yeah.
But I did win. I won the league.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Was there some money on that?
Yeah, we all put $10 in.
So are you going to declare that to the United States Revenue Service?
Doesn't have
Absolutely
to.
not.
It's under a certain amount.
Gambling winnings.
Under a certain amount, though.
Not for gambling winnings. You're supposed to declare your gambling winnings. That is, what is that? That is, it's I wish I could go on.
Do you also get to declare your gambling losses? Because I feel like I've
Yep.
lost more.
You do.
Yep.
Okay,
you do.
then I don't need to
You
declare
do.
anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's not.
I'm a wash.
It
I'm a
evens
wash.
out.
knowing
I promise.
Matt's gambling style, he is not in the black.
Oh, really?
Not even close.
But it's not that bad. Like,
But it's not like-
we bet $1 here, $1 there.
Right.
$10 on an entire fantasy football season.
Who's
So-
the best poker player there now?
Well, it's Baker Dot.
It's still Baker Dot.
Yeah.
Who's the second best then? Is it Jared? Has he won anything yet?
He won something with an asterisk. It wasn't the full crew.
Still, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because when I was there, they still do these like turbos where you put in like $1 and you play a quick tournament. And the biggest poker shit talker in the whole office, like, never won, ever. But he would make it to like second or third sometimes.
Yeah, well, quite often.
Quite
he
often.
will.
It's like the episode of Downton Abbey where that one guy is always talking about how much he loves cricket, and then when they play the game of cricket, he just duffs it. It's so big. Remember that episode? You guys watch that one?
Yeah, just like that.
Mr. Mosley.
You
Other
could
than
literally make up any scenario right now, and we'd have to buy into the idea that happened on Downton Abbey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I had an idea for a workout called Downton Flabby, where you just eat and you have the life of a servant, and then you lose weight because you don't get to eat the good food.
And you just serve other people.
Yeah. So And on that, let's wrap this one up. Matt McGregor, thank you for being a guest on JJ Meets World.
Thanks for having me.
Do you have anything out in the internets where people could find something that you've made, or if they want to reach out? Do you have a Twitter handle?
I have a Twitter handle that I don't use very much. I guess you could search for Matt McGregor on YouTube and see some of my older works. A lot of the most embarrassing things are definitely on there. So if that's what you're interested in, yeah, definitely go check that out.
We'll post First Mo on the JJ Meets World Facebook page.
Wonderful. Would you post the poster as well? Because
Absolutely.
The poster for First Mo is
I'm pretty
top-notch.
sure the poster might be part of the thumbnail. We'll find out.
Wonderful.
We'll find out. Punch got designed.
All right, Matt McGregor, peace out.
Peace out.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJ Meets World and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com, and you can find direct contact info for JJ. I was thinking about starting a poker TV show, but it's about people learning to play poker, and I wonder how many episodes I could get through before someone says, like, listen, I think that Dave Foley has got better things to do than teach a bunch of people how to play poker.